Hi, just give it the nuts and bolts a couple of seconds to come online. Um, right, welcome to Thursday live conversation. I'm Yoni Ejo, and as some of you may know, I'm an adopter, an adopted person, and also a social worker. And I'm really pleased to um, introduce you to Tess Crawford. And she's going to tell you a bit more about herself, and then we're going to have a conversation about helping um, families whose children are dysregulated and helping through massage. So,
Hello.
Tess, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Yes, I'm up in Scotland. I have moved about quite a lot in the last year. I've been in England and in Sweden in the last year, but I'm now
Oh, wow.
settled here in Edinburgh. So I'm a qualified health visitor, but I'm now working for myself. I left the NHS more or less exactly a year ago now.
Oh,
I think
right.
a year ago tomorrow, I think. Yeah, so yeah, I've been sort of developing my own business and yeah, very much looking at massage and different forms of massage to support the whole family, but primarily looking at how we can support children, and touch being such a sort of relevant topic at the moment as well, with the sort of restrictions that we've all had on each other and the messages that children get through this. But yeah, I have a strong interest in sort of evolutionary medicine and looking at humans and our need for touch and us as a Western culture being quite touch deprived and things. So
Right. Oh, that's really links into something I've been looking at, talking about trauma and the impact on children, obviously within the adoption system, then experience trauma in lots of different ways. And I know that touch is something that is really important and can be very healing in relation to trauma, the impact of trauma as well.
yeah, absolutely, and you know, it's one of those sort of things I think that can be quite difficult because it can be, as you say, it can be very healing, but it can also have been the source of the trauma, and so
Mm.
you know, it also has to be done very carefully, and I'm hoping that the ways that I'm introducing are a way that you can bring it in really safely and really gently, and use it as a way to heal as well. So
Mm.
absolutely.
So, what took you from health visiting into the work that you're doing? I can see it's related, but it's quite a different
Yeah,
direction, isn't it?
yeah. I first got into doing a baby massage because and that was a sort of an extension of the fact that I was very passionate about the sort of issues around touch and skin to skin contact around birth and baby wearing and just the whole issue of Western cultures being quite touch deprived, and how healing it can be for the parent as well as the child and how good it is for bonding and such like. And then I was offered the opportunity to do a sort of a follow-on course from that, which was doing it for children rather than just for babies, so a child massage course. And then I sort of happened across other courses, and they all kind of happened separately. So I did one that was connected to using essential oils, and then I came across story massage, which is what we've talked about quite a lot, and incorporating storytelling into massage. And so these are all sort of different things. And when I got to the end of last year, and it was a difficult year for everybody, but I didn't really want to be in health visiting anymore. And I thought, well, actually,
Mm.
what I'll do is I'll try and bring all these sort of elements together, and bring my sort of knowledge and my skills. I've got 4 children. I've actually home educated my children,
Oh,
and just sort of bring all of that together and see if I can't sort of package it together and sort of support families in my own way rather than sort of what felt like rather restricted way before. So
right.
yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. I know, obviously, working as a social worker and manager, I've worked alongside a lot of health visitors, and I know how pressured the
Mm.
things have been, or it's always been pressured, but it just seems to be to the nth degree now, which is so sad because it's such an important part of looking after new mums and also child protection.
And
So it's a
it's
real loss.
unfortunately it's a bit of a sort of a postcode lottery as well, as many things are, unfortunately. But in England, especially, but different in Scotland. It's got much more of a national approach in Scotland, and
Okay.
there has been much more money invested in health visiting in Scotland than in England. Whereas in England, it's every area is sort of financed differently, and so it can be quite a different service in different areas.
Yeah, I can imagine, and I guess there's different demands and pressures on different areas depending on the um, demographic of the local people.
Yeah.
Um, so how how does you we're talking initially about baby massage, and I suppose people will have heard of, how important it is to build that up with their child, but
Mm.
you it sounds like your age is somewhat extended to that.
Yeah, I mean, although I love working with families, and obviously my sort of almost my area of expertise is under fives. The sort of area I'm more concentrating on now is actually probably the sort of five and upwards, and
Oh,
looking at dealing with sort of anxiety and sleep problems and just emotional regulation, and looking at how we can look at that through touch. But one of the things I really love about massage is that it's a two-way thing, because it is touch, and obviously if you're touching, you're also being touched. And therefore, from research that's been done with when they did baby massage in elderly care homes, how good it was for the babies, but also how good it was for the elderly people who were doing it. And we know this it's very reciprocal, and yeah, my approach is very much looking at the whole family. So there's no point in supporting one member of the family. Um,
mm,
you know, for instance, in the case of fostering and adoption, yes, you need to look at the needs of the child, but it's a difficult process for you as an adult to be going through as well. I know some of the one particular parent I was supporting, sort of right at the end of when I was health visiting, that sort of period of when she was fostering a baby with the intention of adopting, but there's that whole period of not knowing whether that child
yeah,
is actually going to stay with you, and the stress of that on her was huge. So
yeah.
yeah, it's very much the whole family needs supported.
I think it sort of quite links to the course that Keely Craw, who's a play therapist, and I've done, encouraging that sort of um, time to spend intensive time with a child,
Mm,
which is very child directive, but it's creating these little pockets of quite intensive one-to-one time
mm.
to build the relationship, and I can see that massage would be really beneficial within that. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say it's very intimate, but it's very, there's a lot to learn from each other, and there's a lot of sort of non-verbal communication, and you're learning about, um, yeah, because the sort of different parts of massage that people like is very different, and so and again the communication, and quite often if you're doing massage, it's sort of a straight massage where you can incorporate music and songs in there as well. So with baby massage and stuff, we would always have like nursery rhymes and all that sort of, and songs in there as well. So you can bring in lots of other and I quite often use essential oils as well. So you're bringing in other senses as well. So you can learn about what each of you enjoy, and yeah.
mm. How because I think one of the things I'm aware of with quite a lot of children who come into adoption or fostering, um, they can struggle with people touching because perhaps that's not their experience in the birth family, or like you say, some touch has been um, negative or abusive.
Mm.
How how would parent sort of negotiate that with a child in the beginning stages? Because I suppose you'd want that to build up. But
Yeah, I mean, one of the things I'm really focusing on at the moment is storytelling and massage, and that can be a really gentle way of introducing touch, because you can choose their favorite story, and in fact, you can model it first of all on a teddy bear or whatever, and then just then move it onto the hand. It can just be something as you can sort of do the massage on the hand, and then as it kind of grows, it can go onto the body. But with story massage, one of the things I love is it is something that you can take it into it's quite often taken into schools and sort of groups and things, and it's something that's done. It doesn't have to be done on bearskin. It can be done on the top of clothes, and so you can start off with it that way as well. And you can, if you've got sort of siblings or other children, you can sort of almost sit children in a row and they can do it on each other. So very much just a shared thing as well.
And I suppose, do you have to be like an expert to do it? How do you sort of get people's confidence up, I suppose, in?
Well, I mean, it's the thing that I'm looking at the moment. I've got a free webinar coming up where I talk about story massage and the different ways that we can use it. But then I've got a course where I teach people how they can use story massage and explore it. Not just using sort of the stories that we've already got with the massages, but also exploring making your own ones up, which can, I think, be quite valuable for children who are sort of struggling with different sort of situations and things, because you can either make up a story that you think would help them deal with the situation, or it can be part of the process of creating something with them, and creating that story together.
So have you seen it make a difference sort of in a relationship between maybe an older child and their carer or parent? Does it sort of build the relationship outside of that little
Yeah,
massage
absolutely. I
space?
mean, not for me personally, because I've done it with younger children, but actually, I mean, but it's something that you can do with all ages. In fact, it's when I was doing it, and I actually sort of, it was an online course that I did that I then needed to sort of do videos and send them, but it was like all online and stuff. And I was practicing on a friend who was 22, and I was like, this is aimed at younger children. He's like, but it's massage, and it's it's relaxing, and it helps. And so there's that whole sort of discussion about sort of what sort of stories you like, or even for an older child, you could look at poetry or songs, or it can be very, very individual.
And do it for the older children, would they have a bit of an influence on the stories, or how it happens and that sort of thing?
Absolutely, and that's one of the things I really like about, I mean, massage in general, but with story massage, which is story massage is kind of a brand, if you like. It was
Okay.
storytelling and massage isn't something new, but you can Google story massage, and that's where I trained with them, and it's a brand, and they have 10 different strokes, and you learn these 10 strokes and you incorporate them into stories and stuff. But one of their and it should be with all massage, but one of their big things is because it's aimed at children, is that it's always something that you ask somebody if they want it first, and you say, thank you for letting me give you a massage. And so there is that discussion, and I think that can be very important in different situations, having that discussion about, it's always okay to say no, because it's your body. And if I haven't done, I would really like to, if I was able to take it into school and sort of say, this is what we're going to do, but if anyone doesn't want to, I'd actually quite like there to be a child that says, actually, I don't want to, because it would be such a good example of saying, that's absolutely fine, come out, and would you be happy, I don't know, holding this for me or whatever.
Yeah.
And having that example of saying, actually, it's absolutely fine to say no. If you're not feeling like it today, then it's just a very important discussion to be having with children.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a discussion that we don't always have enough as adults with children, and I know, I can imagine that quite a lot of people recall. I certainly recall having those situations where when you're a child and you meet relatives that you haven't seen very often, and go and kiss them or go and hug them or whatever, and there isn't that consent really
Yeah.
around that,
Yeah.
and particularly with children who've come into the care system. And so often some of those experiences have already told them that they don't have sort of
Yeah.
choices around what happens to them or where the body, how the body
Yeah.
is. I think it's really powerful.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, absolutely. It's just such an important message for, I mean, I think it's a really important message for all children to have, but absolutely even more so if children have had that sort of negative experiences and stuff, and just, yeah, that just so important to empower them so that they know that they can, that their body is theirs and they can always say no. So, yeah.
So, how does your course work? Did you say it
Well,
was
it's,
online?
yeah, it's I was going to do what I wanted to do was to develop an online course that would look at all the different areas of massage. But actually what I've decided is I'm so passionate about the storytelling and massage that I'm going to sort of concentrate on that a bit more. And it's going to be something that people sign up for, and it will be a 5-week course. It will be on Zoom. People can have the cameras on or off, whatever they're most comfortable with. And I have a sort of a plan in mind for how the 5 weeks will go, but because it is going to be a live week by week thing, it can very much develop as, people can sort of request things, and just coming from what questions come from people, it can be sort of shaped slightly as we go along. But we'll look at learning how to do the story massage, but also work on developing different ideas and creating our own, or people creating their own massages and things for different situations as well.
Oh, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
I was wondering if this is a slight aside, and if that's okay. Obviously you've been a health visitor for quite a while up until recently, and I know often adopters and foster carers get quite anxious about the health visiting role, and how people coming in, particularly at the early stages of a placement. And I suppose I just wondered whether you had any suggestions or tips or things to think about in sort of setting that relationship up in a positive way from the adopter's point of view, and maybe what, as a professional, you'd expect people to be looking for.
I mean, I would almost look at it from for what I would expect the parent to be looking for, and I would expect the oral health visitor to understand that it's a different situation to other situations they go into, and understanding that, especially in those early days, that children are having to deal with so many people coming in and out and asking questions, and sort of looking at what's going on, and just being really sort of mindful of that, and understanding that you're not going to be able, because normally I would, if I was going in to see a family and there was a sort of an age-related development check, you would sort of I would sort of phone up, and I might sort of even send some information out and then go and visit the family. But understand, and I think it's perfectly okay if you've got a child who would struggle with that sort of new person coming in, to say, well, just that you turning up kind of visit isn't going to work for us. Maybe we need to come and visit you at the clinic, or we need you to come and sort of visit first, and not do it in one visit. It's just having that, expecting that sort of level of sort of accommodation, if that's the right word. But I think it's really okay to sort of ask for what you need, and just really sort of sort of advocate for the needs of that child, because it might well be very different. And I think health visitors, and I think everybody is getting a lot better at understanding the sort of difficulties with trauma and the sort of behavioural challenges that can come from that, and we just need to just sort of be very sort of gentle around it, if that's the right sort of, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really helpful, because I think a lot of, particularly at that point where adopters and foster carers can feel really under scrutiny anyway,
Yeah.
and anxious about so many things.
Yeah.
It's good to give them that message that actually, yeah, you can say
And I think even
this
more
is going to
so
work better.
with health visitors than with social workers. This sounds a bit bad. I was going to say you can say no to stuff more with health visitors than you can, in that it is, you know, because I know we had started doing this thing, which where yeah, when we went into homes, we had a list of things that we had to look at, which I hadn't come across before. You know, we needed to go and you needed to look at whether the child's bed was, and you needed to look in the bathroom, and these are things that as health visitors were not something that we would have done in the past. So I have to say that I would tend to say to people, we have been asked to do this. You're absolutely within your rights to say no. And I almost wanted people to say no, because I did feel like it was a bit intrusive, unless you
Yeah.
actually have a sort of a real reason to be concerned. I think it is really quite intrusive, but I think it's realizing with health visitors that you can say no to things.
Right. That's a good message. Yeah, that's true. I think having spoken to quite a lot of new adopters, is so stressful.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're always given that message. Certainly social workers don't give that message, unfortunately, and
Yeah.
enough that
Yeah.
actually there is a
Yeah, because I
level
mean,
of
you really don't have the situation that this is an unseen child. They're being seen by so many other people that that I think you've got to kind of look at the sort of reality of what's going on, really, rather than having necessarily the boxes ticked that you particularly want to have ticked. I mean, I know, you know, there are reports that need to be done and stuff, but you know, I think things just need to be done in a step-by-step kind of way, and you don't necessarily need to do everything.
that sounds good. So just sort of drawing to a close, can you tell people a little again about the course, if they're interested in finding out more?
Yeah, what I'm doing.
And I will put in the links if that's.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is, it's on the 11th of January. I've got a free webinar which will take place on Zoom. So people can sign up for it. And when you sign up for it, I will sort of send you the link. I'll also invite you to a Facebook group. So I've got a sort of Facebook group that sort of supports it. And I'll have other videos and information that go into the Facebook group, but I will also upload the webinar into the Facebook group for people who don't manage to get to the actual thing live, because we all know what it's like with children and life. And so it's at 8:30 on the 11th. Yeah, and I just sort of talk more. I go more into the sort of importance of touch and why it's really important, and a little bit more about story massage, and I will demonstrate a story massage. This one will be, and most of the story massages that I tend to do would be demonstrated on the back, but this one actually is one that is demonstrated on the hand. I actually talk about how you can do it for yourself as well. So there is, at the end of it, there's a demonstration of one. So and obviously, as you'll have the playback, you can watch it, and then if you want to come back and just sort of skip to the massage itself at the end to do with the children the next day or whatever, then you can obviously do that in the Facebook group. So yeah, my aim with the webinar is that it will have information in there that people can take away and will be really useful. Obviously, I would love it if people think this is fabulous, I want to come along and do your course. That would be wonderful. But I know that, you know, not everybody's going to want to do that, but I really want it to be a standalone thing that will be really useful to people as well. So,
Oh, brilliant!
yeah.
Thank you. I mean, it sounds great, and it's certainly I know know about the benefits of massage, but I've not heard about story massage, so I'd be interested to hear more about that. So
Yeah.
thank you. We'll put that link in at the end of the broadcast. And thank you so much for taking the time to explain what you're doing. It sounds really interesting.
Otherwise, it was lovely to come along and talk again. And I do one-to-one sessions with people if they do want to sort of have sort of one-to-one sessions, especially talking about sleep and things as well, if that's an issue.
Okay.
Yeah, feel free to get in touch if you've got questions.
Right, brilliant. And do you have so you've got the Facebook group? Is that the best way to get in touch with you?
The best way to get in touch with me is me on Facebook, and
Okay.
yeah, because my name's quite unusual. The spelling of Crawford's quite unusual, and we can put that up obviously. So I'm quite easy to find. So messaging me on Facebook is probably the easiest way to get me.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thanks very much for your time, Tess.
All right.
It's been lovely to speak to you.
All right. Thank you.
And hope people have enjoyed your session, because I certainly have. So take care. Thank you.
Bye.